As if the shocking death of Jean Harlow wasn't already a mystery enough, her husband, Paul Bern's death, was also an anomaly that has to be looked into. Hi, welcome to Eventful Insights. Together, let's find out why the cause of Jean Harlow's husband, Paul Bern, has been so compelling to the public. What is the mystery that wraps around his case that made his name echoes up until now? But before we dive into this mysterious case, do you know Jean Harlow before watching this video? Let us know in the comment section below. Back to the topic at hand. In addition to helping in Jean Harlow's career, Bern married her in July 1932. But rather than his contributions to the movie industry, it is the puzzling circumstances surrounding his premature death on September 5, 1932, that have preserved his legacy. German-born Paul Bern, who had previously gone by the name Paul Levy, was a producer, screenwriter, and director of films. He was Irving Thalberg's assistant at Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, where he worked. Although, he is more known as the husband to the famous bombshell Jean Harlow. He had ambition and grit as he made his way to Hollywood. He started out as an actor, but soon discovered that his main strengths were in the backstage work of theatrical production. He moved to Hollywood in the early 1920s and worked his way up from being a film editor to writing and directing scripts for prominent firms like United Artists and Paramount Pictures, before securing a permanent position as a producer at MGM. Paul Bern's friendship with legendary actress Jean Harlow was one of his most significant life experiences. Their encounter took place in 1930, just before Hell's Angels made its debut. When few others did, Bern was crucial in realizing Harlow's acting talent. Their acquaintance turned into a relationship, and in June 1932, they made their engagement public. They later got married on July 2nd of the same year. The legendary figure, Jean Harlow, who inspired Marilyn Monroe, suffered a horrible end at an astonishingly young age. Paul Bern, who was 22 years her senior and an MGM producer from Germany, died just 2 months after they were married in 1932, several years before her terrible death. At first, it seemed unlikely that Harlow and Bern were romantically involved, and many people were shocked when they revealed themselves to be married. Their relationship initially seemed out of character. Bern, a serious and hard-working man in his 40s, and Harlow, one of the most attractive ladies of her century, young and just starting her career. But they went against the odds and made their vows. According to John Austen's book, More of Hollywood's Unsolved Mysteries, Bern was battling an illness that left him impotent, something he had never experienced before. He begged the frequently lauded sex goddess, Harlow, in his desperation to use her on-screen charm to boost his sex drive. This information outraged Harlow since she felt he should have told her before they got married. He should have loved her for who she is, not what she appeared to be on screen, in her opinion. The book claims that during the ensuing violent argument, which was exacerbated by drink, Bern bit Harlow until she bled. Harlow sought advice from her agent, Arthur Landau, who had seen the proof of her injuries as she was distressed by the experience. The MGM officials, including Landau, were emphatic and thought that this should not turn into a scandal. This was only one of several secrets Paul Bern had withheld from Harlow. He was still legally wed to his first wife, Dorothy Millette, which she was unaware of. Millette, according to Bern's sister, had stayed in New York City after Bern moved to California to pursue his stage management job. Due to health problems at the time, Millette spent some time in a sanitarium. After she recovered, she moved in at the Algonquin Hotel. Harlow's anger toward Bern was further intensified by this information, but MGM insisted that she stay married to Bern and hold back on speaking to the media. Furthermore, Paul Bern was not happy after securing the woman who many American men desired. One of the strains on their marriage came from the expectations of Harlow's family. After only 2 months of marriage, Jean was spending the night with her mother. Their rocky marriage was brought to a halt because of Bern's untimely, mysterious death. Before we get into the gruesome details of Paul Bern's death, do you think his marriage with Jean Harlow drove him into suicide? We want to know your thoughts about this chilling case, so just let us know. Jean Harlow was known at MGM as the baby because of her kind demeanor and her mother's frequent presence. In her spare time, Harlow enjoyed reading eagerly, knitting and crocheting, and hem-stitching. She was also renowned for her great generosity. She had a particularly close relationship with her mother throughout her youth. As a young child, Harleen experienced health problems, including a case of scarlet fever, which made her mother more protective. Even though Harlow was cleared of any involvement in Bern's death and received support from the Hollywood community, she continued to blame herself and felt undeserving of her colleagues' sympathy. Due to her mother's stringent rules, this amplified her already present inferiority complex, which resulted in two serious problems: a crippling guilt complex and a developing alcohol dependence. Until now, Paul Bern lives on ever since he was found dead with a gunshot wound, and it appeared as though he had left behind a suicide note barely 2 months after their wedding. Different theories regarding what led to his demise were put forth, with some speculating that his former common-law spouse, Dorothy Millette, might have been responsible. The suicide note goes as follows: "Dearest dear, unfortunately, this is the only way to make good the frightful wrong I have done you and to wipe out my abject humiliation. I love you. Paul." You understand that last night was only a comedy. It was difficult to bounce back from controversy, especially when it had the potential to ruin a career. However, Harlow's career took off to superstardom after Bern's passing. Following the incident, a string of successes including Dinner at 8, Bombshell, Hold Your Man, and China Seas delighted both audiences and critics. With critics admiring her street-smart attitude, Harlow had discovered her gift for comedy. The humorous masterpiece, Dinner at 8 by George Cukor, the lighthearted spoof biography, Bombshell starring Jean Harlow as herself, and the hotly anticipated China Seas, starring the Harlow-Gable combination, once more all stood out. The note was believed to be a suicide note from Bern by the authorities. Harlow's only statement when questioned by the police and later in front of a grand jury was that she was unaware of the circumstances. Harlow was chosen by a judge in California to serve as the executor of her husband's will. Throughout her life, Harlow remained silent about the subject. She died in June 1937 at the age of 26 from renal failure, brought on by the childhood scarlet fever she had experienced. 2,000 people attended Bern's funeral, which was held on September 9, 1932, in the Grace Chapel in the Inglewood Park Cemetery. During the ceremony, Conrad Nagel gave the eulogy. Screenwriter Ben Hecht questioned the official account of Bern's death in the November 1960 issue of Playboy magazine, reigniting interest in the case. Hecht advanced the theory that Bern had been murdered by an unidentified woman and contended that the initial investigation into his death was an effort to cover up a possible suicide. Hecht went on to say that it would be better for MGM's star actress and her box office appeal if Bern's death were portrayed as a suicide. The Los Angeles County District Attorney, William B. McKesson, momentarily reopened the case as a result of this story. McKesson eventually terminated the case, saying that although he had initially believed Hecht to be a dependable reporter, it now looked that Hecht had been disseminating an unverified rumor. In 1990, Samuel Marks, a film producer who was a close friend of both Bern and Irving Thalberg during their time at MGM, published a book presenting an alternate account of Bern's death. Marks, who served as MGM's story editor and headed the screenwriting department at the time, claimed that he had visited Bern's residence in the early hours of September 5, 1932, before the police were alerted to the discovery of the body. During this visit, Marks alleged that he witnessed Thalberg tampering with evidence. The following day, Marks was among the studio executives informed by Louis B. Mayer that the case needed to be officially classified as a suicide due to impotence to prevent a scandal that could have jeopardized Harlow's film career. After a thorough examination of the available evidence, Marks concluded that Bern had been murdered by his estranged common-law wife, Dorothy Millette, who subsequently took her own life by jumping overboard from the Delta King while en route from San Francisco to Sacramento, California. Paul Bern's death remains a puzzling mystery, with no clear answers or resolution to the questions surrounding the circumstances of his passing. The conflicting accounts, the absence of conclusive evidence, and the complexity of the case have all contributed to the enduring interest that surrounds the mystery of Paul Bern's death. What are your thoughts about Paul Bern's death, and why do you think it's as mysterious as they said? Well, that's it for today's video. If you want to watch more videos that are packed with mystery and unsolved cases just like this, visit our channel. While doing so, why not subscribe, hit the notification bell, and like this video? Thank you for watching.